If you're watching this video, you're probably getting ready for a Father of the Bride speech and you're looking for inspiration. And there's a lot of Father of the Bride speeches on YouTube and they're not all great. I don't care how many views they have. I help dads write heartfelt and funny wedding speeches. I'm a comedy writer by trade, and I use this YouTube channel to share all kinds of tips and tricks. And what I started doing is just showing you great speeches that are already on YouTube and explaining why I think they're really good so that you can replicate that in your own way. So this guy, am I pointing anywhere near him? He just went out there and he told some really good stories that really explained who his daughter was, who he was as a dad, and how he felt about the groom. And he just was himself. And it's really fun to watch. Depending on where you're from, it'll help you to know that Magnin used to be a big department store in San Francisco.
First of all, so thank you for coming. When Allie was born, naturally, I don't know how I did this. I didn't even know that this was a thing to do. I took off my shirt and I laid her on my chest and I just bonded with her. And then I'd say about 6 months later, I found out that's what you're supposed to do. So I thought naturally fatherhood was easy for me. And that was until she was about 3, and my wife was working in the city and they had a Ferris wheel on top of iMagnin. So I put my 3-year-old daughter on this Ferris wheel by herself. And of course, as she rose up in the sky like 50 feet, I realized, what the heck was this 16-year-old kid that was running the Ferris wheel, letting this child go up on this event? And as I started getting mad at him, I realized that it was my responsibility while he was 16 years old. And then I blamed iMagnin for hiring a 16-year-old to run a Ferris wheel on top of a building. And as she went around the 5 or 7 or 10 times, I'm not sure how many times it was, because the whole time I'm thinking, oh my God, just hang on to get down. I realized that fatherhood wasn't as easy as I thought it was when I put her on my chest and did something I didn't even know I was supposed to do. That being said, I was very fortunate because my wife worked on the weekends, so I had to be Mr. Mom on the weekends, and one of her favorite things to do was to do her hair, which included just running water in both the sink and the bathtub, and taking big gobs of Vaseline and hair oil combined with water and brushing her hair for hours. And she would come to me and go, "Dad, how's my hair look?" And I go, "Beautiful, honey." It'll be all over her head, and then she would go in and do the same thing. And every time I'd say, "That's beautiful, honey." And then we send her off to school, and we would comb her hair into this bun. And we say, "Honey, don't take your hair out of your bun." And of course, every day we would show up after school, and her hair would be out here. We're like, "Oh, no." So we just dealt with it. But anyway, one time I picked her up from school, and this is a true story. I picked her up from school, and she's in the back seat, and we have the car seat in the middle in the back. Each of these stories has a purpose. He's not just sort of telling them to tick boxes. He's telling stories that are giving us information. They're showing the relationship. They're showing her as she gets older. He's also taking a lot of the responsibility himself. He's not making fun of his daughter. He's taking it all, I thought I was a good dad, but here's all the stuff I'm doing. And she decided to get out of the car seat while I was driving. We just, stopped at a light and give me a hug around her neck. I'll never forget it. She gave me a beautiful hug around her neck. Unfortunately, the highway patrol was right there. True story. And I got this ticket. And unfortunately, I didn't pay the ticket on time. You know how that is. And it turned into a warrant. I'm not even kidding. So when I ended up paying it, it was like $2,000. And eventually, and I got stopped by a cop in between there, and he said, "Do you have anything on your record?" And I said, "Yeah, I drove through a stop sign, and I have, driving without a seatbelt." This is a true story. He says, "Okay," but he didn't check anything. He did $2,500, and we didn't have any money. And I realized that when you have a beautiful daughter like I do, a $2,500 hug is worth it. There is no price on a hug for your daughter.
So he didn't just tell the story, he brought the story home. He made it then about everything in the bigger picture. I mean, I just love that story. And if you're sitting in the audience, you're happy because you're not listening to the same old thing that happens over and over. You're just hearing good stories and they're making a point.
And that's all true. So anyway, we go through time, and this gentleman, about 3 years ago, was it 2.5, 3 years ago, Jason comes in, and he comes over, and we had some guys come over before, and I call them flat tires. There's some flat tires. They had all the air wasn't in the tire. And I had to kind of pretend like I kind of liked the guys. Down deep, you get to that age where you can't pretend anymore, and you just don't want to. And my daughter, when she was younger, would bring these guys by. She goes, "Hey, you're so nice. Why aren't you nicer to the guys I bring home?" And I just kind of go, man, I'm trying to be nice, honey. I'm nice, but I couldn't pretend that they were good enough for my daughter. I just couldn't.
Usually, the kind of general wisdom that I always put out is, well, everyone does. Don't talk about her exes. Don't talk about the one she didn't marry. But if you're gonna do it, this is a great way to do it. Like she brought other guys home, but again, he made it about him. When you get to an age when you can't really pretend anymore, that makes it universal. So he's not just talking about it. Look at the parade of losers she used to bring home. He brings it back to himself, which kind of takes the pressure off of look how many guys she dated before she got it right. Do you know what I mean? So there are rules for things, but then think about the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law.
And then Jason showed up. So the first day, we really liked her. But my wife and I didn't even say to each other we liked her. We just kind of looked at each other and went like, okay, this has promise. Well, we went to Jason. I thought it was way too early to know. Anybody can act good for a day, right? By day 3, you can tell if he's a fool or not. Day 1, everybody can pull that off, right? So we kind of looked at each other, we liked Jason, but it was just too early to know. So the second day, we looked at each other, we didn't say anything because we didn't want to commit to it. We didn't want to commit to the fact that we really liked Jason. And so the second day, they were going out to do something, and I remember us both running out to the kitchen window and looking out the window, and yes, he did open the door. Yeah. Okay. Open the door. All right, somebody passed the test. It's not like you were looking. We were looking between the shades. You're not good. That. So it wasn't really a parent. And so then day 3, we looked at each other and we went, I really like Jason. I really like Jason too. Finally, someone we liked it. I went to my son and I went like, we like Jason. He went, Dad, you're getting soft. Don't be making that commitment yet. I don't know nothing about him. So as we saw them interact together, they would watch these movies on the screen, and we would peek around the corner, and they would actually enjoying each other's company and laughing at each other's jokes. And we're like, this is promise. We like Jason.
Here's something else he's doing. Everything he's doing is a we. It's not just I. I mean, well, the I stuff for when he was screwing everything up when she was a little girl, he owned that as I. But as soon as Jason comes into the picture, he's telling it all from a we perspective. So he's including his wife in there. Don't forget to talk about your wife. It's a long, quiet car ride home if you don't even acknowledge the existence of your wife or your daughter's mom in your speech.
We do love Jason, and we were right.
Yeah.
We were right, and thank God we were right, because my wife used to always say, you know, they married their dad.
That's right.
We have a tradition every year where we buy my wife Tina buys Allie clothes for Christmas, and then 2 days after Christmas they go down to San Francisco and they return about 75% of the clothes. So really, it's just an opportunity for them to shop together again.
Here's something else. If you're looking for ways to make it funny, don't go and Google canned jokes, father of the bride speech jokes. Truth is funny. Everything you've heard in this speech is just real life. It's truth. And everything he's saying here, they go shop and then they go return it all. It's truth. And look at the laughs he's getting. He's not trying to be funny. He's just telling the truth.
Right, and spend the money they already spent with additional money. But this time I had a partner to sit with me while they were doing that, and that was Jason. And then, so they were going to return clothes, and we went up to the Cheesecake Factory, because that's what we do. 2 days after Christmas, we're returning clothes. And Jason sat across from me, and he said, Mr. Gooden, I think he might have called me Royal, I don't remember, because I was so shocked that this was happening. He went, I love your daughter, and I want to marry her, and I want to ask you for her hand. And I said, wow, that ain't never happened. Damn. Asking me ahead of time? Wow, that is cool. And I didn't really say any of that. I simply had tears in my eyes because I knew deep down, even from the second or third day I met him, that he was the right guy. I just needed to confirm it. And I knew that not only was he the right guy, but they were right together, that they complement each other. But I do hand over my precious gift of a daughter to a special man as a son, and I'll always be there for you. Thank you so much for coming to my daughter's life, and thank you for being the man that I feel very comfortable turning over my precious gift to. I welcome you to the family.
This is one of my favorite Father of the Bride speeches. It's on YouTube as the most hilarious Father of the Bride toast. As of this recording, it has 2.6 million views. So let's take a look.
It was a Saturday in July, Ocean City, New Jersey. The day started out like any other. A morning bike ride to breakfast, a leisurely stroll on the boardwalk, and a lazy afternoon on the beach. And as my wife, Sue, and I sat in our beach chairs, watching Nick and Nicole, hand in hand, playfully splashing by the water's edge, with a real sense of happiness and a smile on my face, I turned to my wife and I said, she's going to marry that boy.
Aww. He's already got an awe from the crowd. But let's take a look at what he's doing. He's just started with a story. It was a beautiful summer day. If you're putting together a speech, there's a million ways to do it. Applause break already.
They don't know what's coming.
Oh, they don't know what's coming. By the way, I have to give a shout out to the videographer on this, because look, we've got a reaction shot. They have a great shot of him, but they also have a great shot of the guests, because that's going to help us as an audience enjoy the story even more, because we're going to hear Dad talk about things that happened, and then we're going to immediately be able to see the reactions of the guests, and that makes it so much more fun.
And as the sun set and we returned home for cocktails and hors d'oeuvres on our back deck, then caught a Phillies game and movie, and then retired for the evening. And as we peacefully drifted off to the sleep, Our bedroom door flung open,
Reaction shot?
and Nick Delenti, fresh from a night in Sea Isle City, and clearly making a wrong turn for the hallway bath,
Oh. Oh. Right into the father-in-law's bedroom.
staggered by our bed, on his way to our bathroom. Sue, who always picks the side of the bed closest to the bathroom, would live to regret that choice this evening.
He has absolute command of the room. People go, "Oh, I'm not a funny person," but you don't have to be wild and crazy and wacky to be funny. You can just be very calm and controlled, and you can use your natural personality to get a great reaction from the crowd.
As we lay stunned and trembling in fearful anticipation as to what might come next, our worst fears were realized.
Reaction
As
shot?
Nick emerged from the bathroom and proceeded to get into bed with us.
Oh. Look, perfect reaction shot. And also, this dad's timing is perfect, because what you want is you want to get the big laugh, and you don't want the laugh to die down completely. You want it to start dying down and then ride that momentum to the next thing you're saying.
Sue, always accommodating, started to move over to give him more room. Outraged, I said, "Get him out of here."
And he's going nice and slow. He's letting each line breathe.
To which she replied, "I'm not touching him. His thing might be out."
And look how he's brought his wife into it. He didn't say my wife was afraid to touch him because she was afraid his thing might be out. He gave a direct quote. Sue said in the direct quote, it just gives it that little bit more punch. So think about that when you're telling an anecdote, when you're telling a story in your speech. Look how long that laugh break is. People ask me about timing
So
all
I
the
got out of
time.
bed and I guided Nick back to his room. And as I returned to bed, now locking the door behind me, which we do now every night, even when no one is in the house,
Great tag.
I got back into bed, still dazed and confused, and with a look of bewilderment on my face, I turned to my wife and said,
We all know what's coming.
"She's going to marry that boy?"
Boom. That's called parallel structure. Use the same phrase, but in a very different way. Classic comedy technique, and works
Nicholas
perfectly.
Michael, all joking aside,
Making the turn to
you're an
sentimentality.
outstanding young man with a kind and generous soul. And me and Sue and Gino couldn't be happier to welcome you into the Samola family.
And he's mentioned people by name, by the way. That's always a great technique. Mention as many of them by name as you can. Hearing your name in a room like that, in a speech like that, it makes people feel special. And you're going to be seeing these people for the next, 25, 30, 40 years at Christmas and Thanksgiving. Spread it on thick, and it's going to pay dividends.
As your family has welcomed Nicole into theirs.
Extra
your mother
gracious.
and father, Marley and Mike, your sister Kimmy, and your brothers Danny and Max have opened up their hearts and home to us, and we are honored, humbled, and grateful. Your family's character and integrity set a high bar, and we'll do our best to keep up. Although
Absolutely.
I have to tell you, off script, keeping up with your old man is going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
We don't know what he's mentioning, but
It's going to be tough.
that is absolutely
It's gonna
from
be
the
tough.
heart. Look at the reaction it's getting. He's
Nicole,
wiping tears.
Grace, Lucy. Ever since you could walk and talk, whenever your mother or I would announce it was time for bed, you would jump up and yell, 5 more minutes. And no matter what we did that day, the zoo, the library, the park, a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, or all of the above, you still needed 5 more minutes.
Repeat
Your
the phrase.
spirit and zest for life, which you inherited from your Nanny Lou and Uncle Buddy.
By the way, what he just did there is such a beautiful way of acknowledging people who are not present. He's talking about grandparents who it sounds like have passed on, and what an elegant way to mention them. Mentioning the grandparents can sometimes be a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a downer, not in a bad way, but still a different kind of tone. But he's mentioned them in the context of his daughter's personality, which means that he's giving them credit. He's mentioning them without really doubling down on the fact that they've passed away.
Although challenging at times, is a gift and a blessing. And whenever your mother and I look at you and Nick, what impresses and delights us the most is the childlike enthusiasm for life that the two of you share.
So good. That's another. So he's gotten applause breaks for jokes and now for the heartfelt stuff.
And so I say to the both of you now, cherish that enthusiasm, nurture it, and don't ever change. And so once again, let's raise our glass and toast the new Mr. and Mrs. Delenti, and let the games begin.
Does this guy look familiar to you? His name's Kevin Crowther, and his Father of the Bride speech has 5 million views. It's called The Greatest Father of the Bride Speech Ever. I've never seen it, so I thought I should take a look at it. Why don't we watch it together, and let's see if we can break down why it's so hugely successful.
All right, congratulations. Raise your glasses. Toast to them. That's it. Yeah. That's what Sarah wanted me to do, but that's not going to happen tonight, unfortunately. And before I get to you guys, I got a few things I got to get to. A few housekeeping things. First and foremost, welcome to everybody here to come spend this time with us and come from the distances some of you did is so special to us. I'm kind of blown away. I mean, I realize I have a great daughter. I wasn't too sure about Trevor, but obviously he's a good kid too because there's so many people here. So thank you guys. For my beautiful wife, Chris, and myself, Steve and Cherie, we just wanted to thank you guys all for coming out here tonight. We appreciate it. Hope you're having a good time.
Look what he's just done there. We're not even a minute in. We're probably not even 30 seconds in. He has thanked everyone for being there. He's acknowledged his wife, which is always a good idea. Please, if you're writing Father of the Bride speech, don't forget to mention your wife. It's a very long, quiet ride home if you do. But he's welcomed everyone, and he's acknowledged the effort that it takes to get there, because weddings are great and they're wonderful to go to, but sometimes it takes some effort, and it does take some money too. So that not only is that gracious as the host of the day, but boy, you're just softening up that audience. That audience feels seen and heard and smart as a performer and smart as a host.
And it's going to get better, so we'll keep going. Yes, to them. And also everybody that helped setting things up and getting us here where we got tonight. This has been, let me tell you something, this is 3 times as much work as it is putting on a Supercross race on a Saturday night. So we will never, Brittany, we are not doing this again. So I'll see you in Vegas.
Real comfortable in front of a crowd. Good for him.
Just a quick note, Mark introduced himself earlier, obviously, and great job, Mark. Thank you for coming out. Great job. And like Mark said, give it up. Mark and I have been friends since about the 5th or 6th grade and go back a long ways. And it was just an honor to have Mark out here tonight to do this. It meant a lot to me, Sarah. Thank you, Trevor. Mark, I had to pay them to let you do it, but The only issue I have is Mark did make a mistake, and he talked about it. And the reality is, I'm an only child. I have 2 daughters. I'm the end of the Crowther name. So Trevor and I had an agreement that he would take our last name and be a Crowther. And I knew that this was going to happen. So I took it upon myself to go to the clerk's office this week and get the marriage certificate changed. So basically, the marriage of Sarah and Trevor, it says, by entering into this contract, Trevor Netz, the groom, agrees to change his family name to Crowther. Both parties hereby agree that from this day forward, they will be known as and referred to as the Crowthers.
He's got a prop. He's got Photoshop. He's not afraid to
And
use it.
that is certified by the FOB, and that would be me. It is signed. It's a real document. So
People are loving it. They're having fun.
okay.
And by the way, I won't keep interrupting. Well, I will, but not as often. But for all of you who say, do I have to memorize my speech? This video, how many views does it have? 5 million views. What's that in his hand? He has notes. It's okay. You don't have to memorize it. You can bring notes up with you.
Also, I know obviously this is about them. This is my toast to Trevor and Sarah. But as you can see by those little shot glasses, we're going to drink a few more times than just once throughout this. So hope everybody's got enough in front of them for it. And just the last thing before I get to Trevor, I am allergic to alcohol. So if you see my eyes tearing up, or if I have to stop and gather myself like what happened earlier down there, it's because we did shots before I walked out there. So if you see that, it's got nothing to do with any of this stuff. I'm allergic to alcohol. So keep that in mind.
Gives a reason that he's going to cry. Something to refer back to.
Okay. Trevor. Obviously, this is a great day for Trevor, and you have all these friends here, and obviously by the size of the wedding party, you're well loved. And I think we only had to bail out 2 people to be here tonight, right? You right? The food was good, a lot better than what you've had, huh? Yeah. So, well, we'll get you back by Monday. Obviously, Trevor, you are a testament to your parents and what a great job, and your brothers, Steve and Cherie, what a great job they did raising you guys. So my first toast tonight is to Steve and Cherie.
Smart.
Smart.
Love to the in-laws.
Because they raised a son that is good enough for my daughter.
Great punchline also. And you can't lay it on thick enough. You're going to see these people at Christmas.
So
and
thank you very
Thanksgiving.
much.
And he's a great kid.
And I got to give it to Trevor also, because
It's
Trevor actually even asked for my approval in this, which is a pretty classy move, especially nowadays. And it really surprised me that he did it. But the only problem I had with it is I got a text message. Did I not get a text message? What did I get before the phone call? But that did mean a lot to me, in especially in today's day and age. And Trevor is a classy guy.
I get asked all the time about how to add humor to your speech, and what he's doing now is exactly what I tell them. Truth. Truth is funny. Truth is honesty is raw, and it's relatable, and it's generally funnier than anything you can make up, and it's for sure funnier than any corny joke you're going to steal or pay for off the internet. He used the truth of a text being the beginning of how the groom asked for his daughter's hand in marriage. It's perfect.
One thing about Trevor, though, is I'm kind of on to you now. I've got it figured out. We always talk about Sarah is in control and has a plan, but I didn't realize that Trevor actually had a plan all along. He met her a long time ago, and I think Trevor realized right away, especially after he met me, that he wanted to be a part of this family.
Self-awareness, truth.
So Trevor had a plan, and he put it into play way back in middle school. You're a great guy, right? You're honest, trustworthy. Trevor was into trucks. Trevor bought a Jeep Wrangler. Trevor bought a motorcycle. He was riding motorcycles and dirt bikes and quads. Trevor joined the military, went off to the Air Force. And to some of you, that might sound a little familiar. It sounded really familiar to me. So, I'm sorry, I lost my son. I'm so excited about Trevor.
So, made a mistake, just wrote it out, made a joke, found his place, and he'll be right back into it.
I need another shot on that one. No. But for Trevor, you did join the service, so you went all in on this one. So here's to Trevor, his service to the United States.
So
We have a lot of other ex-military and current military folks in here tonight. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Always something great to acknowledge, especially with a lot of military people in the room. Daughter of a U.S. Navy vet.
Now, the only problem I have with that is I get a text message and I tell them, yeah, I got time for a phone call. Let me get a bottle of Jack Daniels and I'll go sit in my Jeep. Call me back. So we have the conversation. I give him my blessing because, I mean, what's not to love about the guy? But shortly after that, he knows he can't sell the Jeep because that would be too obvious. So he burns it down in his driveway.
So obviously something's happened, but truth is getting laughs. Not even embellishing it. Truth.
He did sell the motorcycle, though. But obviously, he's still in the military. You didn't think that one through, did you? No. So you're still chucking along there. But the reality is, none of that's important to me. And I give you credit for going to that extent of trying to become me to get her. But that's not what it was all about. For me, I think what was important is the way that Sarah looked at you, the way she talked about you, the way that you treated her, even when you thought I wasn't around. There's a lot of times I was around when you didn't think I was. And that was the important stuff. It was really made me know that. And I know in the bottom of my heart that you are going to treat her right. And not because I got a bunch of guns at home, but because of that beautiful mama bear right there. So you don't want to go there, buddy. Oh, and I'm not done yet.
Also got to acknowledge what a great job the photographer's doing, getting the reaction of the bride and the groom and intercutting.
Once they got engaged, I've had a lot of people ask me what I thought about Trevor, especially folks that don't know Trevor, people I work with and stuff come up to me. Well, what do you think about it? And I always preface my answer with, I would never tell him this, but. So tonight I'm going to tell you, buddy.
Now, if I had to make one little criticism, and again, 5 million people can't be wrong. He's doing a great job. The crowd is loving him. We are, looks about halfway through. Haven't heard anything about his daughter yet. I assume he is going to rectify that in the second half of the speech. But if I was his daughter, I might be sitting there going, that's great. But, I'm the kid. Nothing wrong with giving Trevor a lot of love. Just, I hope he gives the same amount to his daughter.
It's what I think of Trevor is if Sarah was to come to me and say, Dad, there's just too many guys out there. I need you to pick the perfect guy for me. Trevor, it would have been you, buddy. That's what I think about you. And you ask anyone out here, that's a true story. So, Trevor, last thing I got to thank you, Boone. I love you. and welcome to Crowther Clan, bud.
Welcome to the family. Perfect. Always a nice thing to actually say.
Sarah told me I had to cut out of this, so I had to cut some of you guys out of this thing. You guys are just irrelevant to this whole night.
Heckled by the groom's
Sarah,
party.
my sweet dear Sarah.
Made the switch. Okay. So-
This is the part where I'm supposed to get all sappy and tell you stories about when we were growing up and how I let her paint my toenails and we played with Barbies, but none of that happened. So we're not going there.
Truth. Laughter.
I was told by Marina that I need to talk about her. So Marina, say your name.
I don't know if that's mom
Actually,
or
the
sister.
reality is if there was one other person that I would trust and want to marry my daughter, it would be Marina.
Is that maid of honor, maybe?
And that is a true statement also. But only so I could drink tequila with Kyle for the rest of my life. How am I doing?
Well, maybe
Sarah,
it's going a little long, but
see, Sarah's just like her mother. And actually, to tell the truth, there are 3 generations of controlling, planning women here tonight. So thank you guys for being here. Fortunately for me, when I was courting my beautiful bride, she hid it very well, so I never saw it. But Sarah, you haven't hidden anything from Trevor. So that, folks, is true love right there. And that's why I know this is going to last, because Sarah has been wide open the whole time.
he did a great job in the first half, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job in the second half. But he did a great job with Trevor of, poking him a little bit and then just giving him a lot of love. So giving him a compliment, poking him a little bit, giving him a compliment, poking him a little bit. So far, the stuff with Sarah is a little more pokey than lovey, but I'm sure he's going to change that. But if you're writing your speech, just make sure that that is in balance.
Now, I'm not saying that's bad or anything, but Sarah has a plan for everything. She's in control of everything. I know we all know this. We've talked about it already. When Sarah was growing up, when it was time for Sarah to get out of diapers, Sarah had a plan. Sarah made the date, and that's the plan we went by. And when we got to that date, on came the pull-ups, because she had a plan at an early age. And as far as her marriage and this wedding and Trevor, Sarah had a plan. And I think at one point you told Trevor, "Don't ask me to marry you." She said, "Don't ruin this, because I got a plan, and that's not the plan yet. So don't ask me. I'll let you know when that's the plan, but it's not yet." And thank goodness it finally happened. So. Now, as far as Sarah's controlling and her plans and everything that she does, that's not always a bad thing. Obviously, this wedding has been a beautiful event, and most of that, probably 99% of that, is because she is such a planner and a control freak. So, with an assist from her mom on it. I love you, Ben. I think the only plan that Sarah has ever really screwed up in her life has been our Verizon data plan. Started out at 2 gigabytes
Good
for our
joke.
data plan. Then we needed 6. Now we're at 12. 3 days before the end of this month, I got the email. You're out of data. 12 gigabytes. And I think 10 of it was her. So Trevor, that nice truck you got parked up there, you might need to sell that so she can update her Netflix and Facebook and whatever they do. They're out there tweeting stuff. So be prepared for that. Because starting Monday, she is on your phone plan, buddy.
Great joke. I am hoping that he's going to give us some positive examples, funny ones, but positive examples of how her planning makes her good at what she does now.
Obviously, I have two beautiful daughters, and everybody thinks having daughters is such a great thing, especially they're so much better than boys and all that stuff. But let me tell you something. Having daughters as a father, it's not always easy. There's a lot of pressure on a father to do the right thing for his kids. I mean, you bring him home from the hospital and you don't want to drop her on her head. And I think twice for you. We were really careful with Brittany because she was first, but unfortunately, by the time we got to Sarah, things weren't so planned out. There are the times that you have to get them ready to school, and you're trying to put pretty ponytails on a third grader that's screaming at you, and just because you're the dad, and they're your little girl, and you want them to look up to you and be proud of you. The whole tooth fairy thing drove me crazy. Where I didn't realize my military training was going to come in handy when I had daughters, where you belly crawl into the bedroom in the middle of the night. You sneak up there and you're trying to replace the tooth with the money like you're in an Indiana Jones movie.
Truth. Very funny.
All the while, just not wanting her to wake up and just ruin her for life that her dad is a tooth fairy. There's a lot of pressure.
Still kind of waiting for the positive example of her planning ability.
What's that?
It's seeming like he's kind of riffing.
What is happening?
Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
We're just telling him keep moving, keep moving.
Wow.
Not quite sure what just happened.
I am really sorry about that, parents. But let me tell you about Santa Claus.
Oh, right. Just ruin the tooth fairy.
When I wrote the speech, Sarah told me there were no kids invited. So.
Yeah, that's
We're
the
almost done,
second
Sarah.
time his daughter's giving him the
We're
wrap
almost
up.
done.
If you're giving your
Oh,
speech
where
and
was
you're
I?
getting that sign, do it. Do it. There can be too much of a good thing.
All right, so
You don't want the
basically
third bowl
having
of ice
daughters,
cream.
especially Sarah, the pressure of it was just the pressure of making her proud of me as a father, and she was my little girl. So
Yeah, seems like he was riffing
okay,
and he's
let's get serious again.
doing well, but because
And
he
Sarah,
maybe
throughout all the years,
he maybe had some bullet points, but he didn't have his speech written out at any point, not just before he got up there. It looks like he's probably got notes, and that's exactly what they are, just sort of notes. So, 5 million views, people are laughing, he's giving a wonderful speech. It will be remembered well, but maybe a little bit of a lesson if you're planning a wedding speech. That's what happens when you have what can happen when you have bullet points. You can really be on point for a while and just like getting those ideas out as fast as you can. And sometimes your mind will wander, you'll get distracted, or you'll get a couple of shots in you and you sort of start meandering. And so that might be a reason to sort of script things out fully before you get up there. You don't have to have it word for word memorized, but just if he had something that was really written out in his hand that he could go back to when he felt that maybe he was sort of going off, that would help him find his way back, maybe that would be a good thing. But again, he's doing a great job. I can see why people love watching this. Let's watch the dismount.
you have given me so much to cherish, and so I did that
There's the
shot,
tears.
and so much to be proud of.
From the heart. Come on, everyone.
There we go, yeah.
and so much to be proud of. But tonight, I think you've given me something that goes beyond everything. You've given me a son.
I mean, it's a great line.
And I'm not done yet. The last thing, well, one of the last things
Balances
is
that a little bit.
the only problem I have now, and it's okay because I'm a problem solver, is Trevor, they're going to go on their honeymoon. Trevor's going to come over to the house and he's going to load up all of Sarah's prized possessions, her signed Ryan Dungey jersey, all your hotel keys that I brought home from every trip I went on, the chinchillas. Actually, I do not have a problem with that one. They're all yours, buddy. And then he's going to move her 1,302 miles away from Pickerington, Ohio. That's the only problem I got. So what I did, since I am a problem solver, is thanks to the help of my friend, Lieutenant Commander Tommy Jacobson, sitting right there, we were able to pull some strings. And what I have in this packet right here for Trevor Crowther
Is that real?
This is a new set of orders for Trevor. These are orders to U.S. Air Force Recruiting Station 369, located at 3492 Broad Street in Columbus, Ohio.
Sounds pretty real. You just get them transferred.
Welcome home, buddy. Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate you pulling the strings on that one.
I mean, he's got 5 million views. If it wasn't kosher to do, then someone would be in trouble. So.
I'm going, honey. I'm
Good for
done.
you.
I'm wrapping it up right now.
Oh boy.
So in closing,
Mom's doing this
in
too.
closing, the reality is, Sarah, I couldn't be more proud of the woman that you've become in
Good line.
everything that you've done, and we're here tonight. If I can only change one thing, I can't look at you when I'm doing this. If I can only change one thing, I would just turn the clock back so we could just do this whole fun ride we've had over one more time. And Trevor,
More on Trevor.
you've been fully vetted by the Crowther clan. In Ebright, vetted means fully researched and background checked. So, just about that. And just, oh, have you? Okay, thank you. And I am so proud of you and the man you've become, and I am honored to call you son. So thank you.
Is he going to say an actual please raise your glass? Yes, he did that earlier.
Since I ruined the tooth fairy and I had to drink that other shot, I don't have one left. So raise your glasses, please.
There you go. Don't forget the actual toast. It
To
lets people know
my
it's
two
over.
favorite people in this tent right now. Honey, I love you, but right now, they're my favorites. To Trevor and my beautiful daughter, Sarah, congratulations.
What do you think? Does it live up to its name? Was it the greatest Father of the Bride speech ever? I think it was very, very good. I think everyone in the room was happy. I think it's going to be remembered beautifully, and 5 million people love it. So who am I to criticize? If you want some help with your speech, check the description. I've got all kinds of things that'll help you. I got templates. You can book me for an hour. I can write your whole speech for you. I'll interview you, and it'll sound just like you.